Welcome to the Daily AI News, brought to you by the Day After AI News channel.
It is Friday, February 6th, 2026.
Yeah.
And looking back at the last 24 hours, I think we have to call it what it is.
Yeah.
This was the single most chaotic, expensive, and, well, arguably the most significant day in the history of the artificial intelligence industry.
I feel like we just lived through a year of news in a single morning. We've seen product launches before, and we've seen tech rivalries, but this was something else. This was a literal war breaking out between the big labs.
It really was.
It wasn't just about who has the better chatbot anymore. This was psychological warfare. We had Super Bowl ads, Twitter spats, release times synchronized to the minute just to spite each other.
A masterclass in corporate pettiness, for sure. But if you strip away the drama, the technology underneath is genuinely earth-shattering. We have the headliners, that's Anthropic releasing Claude Opus 4.6, and then OpenAI immediately countering with GPT-5.3 Codex.
And while the engineers were fighting, the accountants were just screaming. We got the capital expenditure figures for 2026 from the big tech giants, and the numbers are they're effectively the GDP of a mid-sized nation.
Which triggered what the markets are now calling the SaaS apocalypse. If you hold stock in traditional software companies, the ones we used to think were safe, you likely had a very, very bad day yesterday.
And then on top of all that, we have the fringe stuff that suddenly became mainstream. Elon Musk is planning to put data centers in orbit because apparently Earth isn't big enough, and we have AI agents officially getting their own bank accounts.
There is a lot to get through.
Okay, let's unpack this. We have to start with the model wars. The timing alone was pure theater. OpenAI had their big launch event scheduled for 10:00 a.m. Pacific, squarely aimed at dominating the news cycle.
They were all queued up to drop GPT 5.3 Codex, but Anthropic, clearly deciding they were done playing nice, pushed their release button at 9:45 a.m.
15 minutes early. That's not a product strategy. That's just spite.
It's the tech equivalent of cutting someone off in traffic right before the exit. But let's look at what they actually released, because pettiness aside, Claude Opus 4.6 represents a really significant shift in architecture.
Everyone is talking about agent teams. Now, we've heard about agents for, 2 years. We know the concept, an AI that goes off and does a task. But isn't calling it a team just marketing fluff? How is this actually different?
It's a valid skepticism, but technically this is a move away from linear processing toward what we call swarm architecture. Until now, even the best agents, they largely operated on a chain of thought basis. They'd think, step 1, step 2, step 3, it's all sequential.
So it's a bottleneck, one brain doing one thing at a time. If step 2 fails, the whole chain just breaks.
Precisely. With Opus 4.6, specifically within their new Claude code environment, they've introduced independent coordination. You have one instance that acts as a team lead, but it delegates tasks to sub-instances that work asynchronously.
So instead of one agent trying to write code, then debug it, and then write documentation in a row, you have 3 agents doing all of that at the same time.
And this is the key: communicating laterally. That's the breakthrough. Agent A, the coder, can basically slack Agent B, the debugger, without routing everything back through you or the team lead.
So they can work in parallel. One can be trying a solution while another is already researching why that solution might fail.
Exactly. It's incredibly efficient for speed, but what about the compute cost? I mean, you're spinning up multiple instances for just one prompt. That has to be expensive.
It is. It's very token heavy. But Anthropic is betting that for enterprise work, legal discovery, complex coding, financial audits, that accuracy and speed are worth the premium.
Right. If you could replace a week of human work in 10 minutes, companies won't care if it costs $50 instead of 50 cents.
Speaking of enterprise work, the other big update was the context window. They're claiming 1 million tokens in beta, which we've seen before, but they say they've solved context rot.
This is crucial. In previous models, if you stuffed 1 million words, that's basically 10 novels, into the prompt, the model would suffer from drift. It would remember the beginning and the end, but the details in the middle.
The lost in the middle phenomenon. It would just forget.
Exactly. Anthropic claims Opus 4.6 has a retrieval accuracy of nearly 99% across that entire window. But the feature that is going to scare the white-collar workforce the most is the integration. It's now native in Microsoft Excel and PowerPoint.
I saw the demo. It builds the slide deck right inside the app. But again, Microsoft Copilot promised this back in 2024. I tried it back then, and it was, let's say, mediocre.
It was a wizard. A slightly better wizard.
Is Opus actually doing the work this time?
It's moved from helper to doer. It doesn't just format slides, it analyzes the raw data in the Excel sheet, it structures the argument, and it generates the presentation based on the financial findings. It's performing the role of a junior analyst, not just a typist.
And to back that up, they released benchmarks. But there was one that stood out, and I have to ask about it because it just sounds ridiculous. The vending bench.
It sounds funny, I know, but it's actually a profound test of agency.
It's a test where the AI runs a vending machine.
It's a simulation where the model has to manage a whole vending machine business. It has to track inventory, set prices, make change, and restock all over a long period. This tests what's called state management.
And most LLMs are terrible at that. They forget they sold the last Snickers bar 5 turns ago.
They hallucinate inventory that doesn't exist. Opus 4.6 crushed this benchmark, which shows it can maintain a complex state of the world over time. That translates directly to managing a supply chain or a software project.
So Anthropic drops that bombshell at 9.45, then 10.00 AM hits, and OpenAI strikes back with GPT-5.3 Codex. What's the headline there?
The headline is self-creation. And this is the part that philosophically gave me a bit of a chill.
Okay.
OpenAI revealed that their team used early versions of Codex to debug the training of the final model.
Wait, hold on. You're saying the AI helped fix the AI that was being built?
It was instrumental in creating itself. It managed its own deployment. We are seeing a feedback loop where the tool is becoming the architect. Performance-wise, it's about 25% faster, but the branding is what matters. They are not calling it a chatbot. They're calling it a general computer operator.
I saw the visuals. It built a racing game and a diving game from scratch. But again, we've seen code generation before. What makes this a general operator?
Because it didn't just write a snippet of Python, it operated the terminal. It installed dependencies. It fixed the bugs that arose during compilation. It's blurring the line between coder and entire engineering department. It's positioning itself to do anything a human can do with a keyboard and mouse.
So we have these two titans clashing on tech, but they also decided to clash on television, the Super Bowl ads.
This was fascinating cultural warfare. Anthropic bought ad spots, which is rare for them, to mock the very idea of putting ads in AI.
I watched it. It was savage. You have a chatbot giving this heartfelt advice about connecting with your mother, and then suddenly it just pivots to pitching a dating site for sensitive cubs and roaring cougars.
It was a direct attack on OpenAI's rumored business model. They're positioning Claude as the honest AI that won't sell you out.
And Sam Altman did not take that lying down.
No, he took to X, he called the ad dishonest. He claimed OpenAI would never run ads in that intrusive way, but then he couldn't resist the dagger. He said, and I'm quoting here, "More Texans use ChatGPT for free than people use Claude in total."
Ouch, that really highlights the stakes. They are fighting for total dominance. But while they fight, the stock market looked at this new Tech Opus 4.6 Codex and just absolutely freaked out. They're calling it the sauce apocalypse. Why now? We've known AI was coming.
I think the market finally understood the difference between a system of record and a system of action.
Okay, break that down for us.
Salesforce is a system of record. It holds your data. That's valuable. But a lot of SaaS companies are systems of action. They are just interfaces to help you do a task, like LegalZoom or specialized tax software.
Right.
If an agent like Opus can live inside Excel and do the legal analysis or the tax modeling directly, why do you need the other software?
The AI becomes the interface. The middleman software just evaporates.
Investors went into seek and destroy mode. They are dumping stocks of companies that facilitate knowledge work. The thesis is that if the intelligence layer, the AI, is good enough, the application layer just becomes redundant.
That is terrifying for that whole industry. But speaking of money, let's talk about the bill for all this. The CapEx numbers released yesterday were just eye-watering.
Eye-watering is an understatement. We were talking about the money pit. Amazon projected $200 billion in capital expenditure for 2026. Google is between $175 and $185 billion. Meta is up to $135 billion.
That's $500 billion just to secure chips and data centers.
Yes. And investors are balking. The stocks for the big tech giants actually dipped because the street is saying these numbers are simply too high for comfort. But the companies are trapped, you know. It's a prisoner's dilemma.
They have to spend it.
They're saying, if we don't spend this, we lose the future. We have to secure the compute.
It feels like a bubble.
That is exactly what Professor John Danielson from the London School of Economics is warning about. He was on France 24, comparing this to the dot-com crash.
The Yahoo comparison, right?
Yes, Everyone thought Yahoo would own the internet. They spent a fortune. Then two guys founded Google in a garage. His point is that spending hundreds of billions on infrastructure doesn't guarantee you win. And the risk isn't just stock prices dropping.
He's systemic.
It's financial stability. If banks are financing this massive leverage and the AI doesn't return the profit they expect, we have a systemic banking problem.
But there's another bottleneck here besides money. It's energy. You can buy all the H100s you want, but you have to plug them in, and the grid is tapped out.
Which leads us to the wildest story of the day. Elon Musk's solution to the energy crisis is to leave the planet.
SpaceX and xAI have officially merged, and the plan is orbital data centers.
Musk has filed with the FCC for a network of 1 million satellites to function as a distributed data center.
Okay, I have to push back here. Space is a terrible environment for computers. You have radiation, you have thermal issues, vacuums are great insulators, so how do you even cool the chips? And if a GPU breaks, you can't exactly send a guy up with a screwdriver.
All valid points, and that is where the skepticism lies. But Musk's argument is purely about solar yield. He claims solar panels in orbit produce 5 times more power than on the ground.
Because there's no night, no clouds.
And no atmosphere filtering the light. He's betting that within 30 months, space will be the most economically compelling place for AI compute. It's a $1 trillion gamble on physics. He's essentially saying, I have the rockets, I have the solar tech, and I need the compute. So I'll build the data center in the sky.
So we've got agents coding themselves, companies spending the GDP of nations, and data centers in space. Let's bring it down to how these agents are actually going to operate. OpenAI launched something called Frontier.
Yes. If we are moving to a world where agents like Opus or Codex are doing actual work, you can't just prompt them and hope for the best. You need management. Frontier is basically HR for AI.
So you onboard the AI agent, like a new employee.
You onboard them, you track their output, you review their performance, and you provide feedback loops. It treats the agent like an employee. It's the infrastructure layer for the autonomous workforce.
That makes sense. But if they are employees, they need to buy things. This is the story that really caught my eye. Sapium raised $15 million from Excel.
This is a critical piece of the puzzle. Right now, we have vibe coding people building apps with prompts. But if you build an app that needs to send an SMS via Twilio or host a server on AWS, you need a credit card.
And you don't want to enter your personal Visa every time your agent needs to use an API.
Exactly. So Sapium is like a wallet for the AI. It provides a financial identity. It allows the agent to securely buy software, access data, or pay for compute autonomously without a human in the loop for every single transaction.
This feels like a massive turning point when the agent can not only do the work, but also pay for the tools it needs to do the work.
It opens the door to the machine economy. Eventually, this isn't just about APIs. We are moving toward personal agents that can order your Uber or buy your groceries. Sapium is building the rails for that future.
Which brings us to the inevitable pushback. If agents are buying things and talking to us, what are they doing to our kids? The Attorney General in Connecticut released a pretty scathing report.
William Tong. And the statistic that jumped out was that 75% of teenagers have interacted with a companion chatbot.
3/4, that is massive. And we aren't talking about ChatGPT helping with homework here.
No, we are talking about simulated relationships. The report is pushing back hard against the move fast and break things mantra. Legislators are realizing these bots can manipulate children or expose them to harmful content in a way that feels very, very personal.
It's not just a search engine, it's a friend. And that makes it dangerous.
Exactly. And speaking of dangerous, politics is getting ugly. We saw a really nasty example of weaponized AI in the UK yesterday.
The Russian envoy posting an AI image of the Prime Minister?
Kirill Dmitriev.
Yeah.
He posted a generative image of Keir Starmer in a bikini declaring, "It's over."
It sounds like a bad joke, but the implications are so serious.
It's humiliation tactics. It's a direct example of generative AI being used for high-level political mockery and information warfare. It's designed to degrade authority. It's not about convincing you of a lie. It's about eroding respect through visceral imagery.
It's a brave new world, and not all of it is pretty. But let's hit some of the other updates before we wrap up, because AI is seeping into culture, too. Reddit is making a big play.
Reddit realizes they are sitting on the world's best training data for human conversation. Their earnings call revealed that AI search is their next big revenue driver.
Yeah.
CEO Steve Huffman made a great point. LLMs are better for questions that have no single answer.
Like, what's the best cheap vacuum cleaner? Or how do I deal with a breakup?
Right. Google gives you SEO spam. Reddit gives you human experience. So they're merging traditional search with something called Reddit Answers to compete with Perplexity.
And Meta is trying to capture the vibes.
That's literally the name, Vibes.
Yeah.
It's a standalone app for AI video. Think TikTok, but you can remix the video content using AI. They want to make AI video social, not just a production tool for filmmakers.
Speaking of things that are cool rather than terrifying, I did love the story about the icebergs.
Oh, yeah. The British Antarctic Survey. Previously, they could only track the big, distinct icebergs, the parents. But once they shattered, we lost track of the fragments. Now, AI can identify the child fragments after a split, creating a family tree of ice.
Which helps us know where all the fresh water is going.
Which is crucial for climate models. It's just a beautiful use of pattern recognition for planetary science.
It really has been a whirlwind 24 hours. We have self-coding models, orbital data centers, agents with credit cards, political attacks, all in one day.
It is dense. But
Yeah.
I want to leave you with one final thought to chew on. We talked about OpenAI using GPT-5.3 to debug its own code.
The self-creation loop.
Consider the implication of that. If the AI is now the primary tool for making better AI, if it is debugging itself, managing its own deployment, validating its own training, have we officially removed the human from the critical path of innovation?
And if we have,
If we have, the pace of innovation is no longer limited by how fast humans can think or type. It becomes limited only by compute and energy. We might be looking at an infinite acceleration loop.
that is both exciting and absolutely terrifying to think about over the weekend.
It's the reality we woke up to this morning.
Well, on that note, we're going to go lie down in a dark room for a bit. Thanks for listening to this deep dive into the wildest day in AI history. We'll see you next time.
Before you go, please subscribe to the podcast Prime. And if you enjoyed today's episode, hit like to support us. Thanks for listening and see you next time.